see you here. And while in some ways I'm a bit disappointed by the turnout at the meeting, maybe I shouldn't be. Because all over the borough, when I've been talking to people in the 42 primary schools and at the however many railway stations I've been visiting, our message is going down extremely clearly. And I think people understand what we're about quite well. We are about putting people before profit. It's simple. We're about the council spending our council tax on the things we need instead of giving it to big businessmen to line their pockets and their Swiss bank accounts. Everyone can see that privatising the roads, privatising swimming pool maintenance, privatising children's school meals, privatising whole schools now with the movement, the transfer of Crofton to Prendergast, Mallory to Asks, and the proposals for Goldsmiths to take over 2 more schools and primary schools as feeders is not good for us. It's just accumulating what used to belong to us as a community into the hands of a few individuals. And it all boils down, well, a lot of it boils down to the one mayor in charge business. I only discovered very recently that Steve Bullock, and this is on his own website, he wrote a paper back in 1996, together with a professor, someone rather, on separating the council's executive role and its representative role. And Blair took up the idea, Stephen Byers took up the idea, and it became a law, and in 2001 there was a referendum in Lewisham, and we now have a single directly elected executive mayor who has nearly all the power in the council. The councillors, we have one here, Chris Flood, Socialist Councillor for Telegraph Hill, they have very, very little power indeed. They can represent the people of Telegraph Hill or wherever. They can talk to them in their surgeries, but they don't have very much influence at all on policy. That's down to the mayor. But the mayor can't get everything right. The mayor can't even know, even if it's the best mayor in Britain, it wouldn't be right to have one person making all those decisions. And one of the reasons for that is that one person can be very, very easily influenced, either by council officers who have a particular agenda. Remember, they're there forever. They move on from one person to another. It's like the civil service in Whitehall. The council officers, they have a particular way of doing things, and they can cope with one elected mayor, coming in with some idea, and they'll easily be able to stifle it if it's one person. But also, individual big capitalist firms who want to take the easy pickings, pick off certain services. Oh, why do we do street lighting in Lewisham? Yes, let's talk to the mayor, maybe get that one privatised, there's some money to be made there. It's much easier to convince one person, even if you can't convince them. If it's someone like Steve Bullock, he doesn't seem to need very much convincing. He's on their side in the first place. You know, perhaps, that he used to be a consultant for Capita. Capita is a provider of services to local government. And if you look at the Capita submission to Parliament when it was considering whether or not to have executive mayors, they said it would be very useful to only have to deal with one person. And so I think that that's a bad system, the one person having all the power. That's why I'm standing for mayor, because I want to abolish the mayoral system. And I think I'm doing, it's very difficult to say, I'm doing very well in terms of the profile of the group, with the publicity we've got out. There's George's 45,000 leaflets to Lewisham East. We've hand distributed 60,000 leaflets to doors, and another thousands and thousands at schools and stations and in New Cross Ward. And it's very difficult indeed to be able to say whether I can win this election or not, but the mood is extremely good. And what I will do if I get to become mayor is, firstly, we can't call a referendum straight away because Steve Bullock got the law changed so that we can't have one until 2011. But in 2011 we'll be able to have a referendum. But straight away I will form a cabinet of 9 councillors. They will be drawn from various parties, hopefully our own councillors, Barbara, Susanna, Raymond, Helen maybe, who's standing in Ladywell, Patrick from Brockley, and Alexia from Eden. But I'll also include some experienced councillors from the Liberal Democrats or the Greens, because they do have knowledge that we don't have. Oh, sorry, and the Socialists, of course, Chris and it'll be a coalition to get through Lewisham through the crisis with government, because we will have a crisis with government. Many of you may have heard about what happened in Doncaster last week. Doncaster elected a mayor who wasn't of the mainstream. Certainly wasn't of the mainstream at all. He was from the English Democrats. And whether or not you like the English Democrats or what they stand for, the interesting thing was that the report said that officers of the council had conspired with councillors to thwart the wish of the mayor. That's not allowed in an authority like Lewisham or Tottenham. The mayor has all the power. And if we succeed in getting me elected next week, then we will almost certainly have to deal with central government having a go at me through its officers in Lewisham Council. So that will be an interesting challenge. So the first thing I'll have to do is possibly replace officers who are not on our side. And our manifesto, which is here, do take a copy when you go, has a nice little clause of that, about that. Appoint officers who are in favour of our policies and who will not work against it. Another thing that I will almost certainly do is move to cap pay of council officers who earn more than £50,000. I think it's a disgrace that anyone should earn more than £50,000. What do they do with the money? The mayor's pay is £78,000, so I'll be okay. No, as you know, I've pledged that if I'm elected as mayor, I will only accept the Lewisham average, which is 24,200 or thereabouts, and I've pledged that with that difference, the 50,000 or so that I would save on my salary, I will open 2 more of the what's called Generations Play Clubs, under 5s play clubs. There used to be one in this building, and when they tried to close this one down, I got involved. That's really my first political involvement in Lewisham in the last 11 years. I used to live here as a child. I was involved politically as a teenager, but I came back to Lewisham in 1996, and we succeeded easily in preventing them from bringing in charges for the under 5s play clubs. What we haven't succeeded in is them closing down 6 of those clubs. There used to be 11, there's now 5. They did it by what they call natural wastage. When somebody was going to retire, they just didn't reapply. I want there to be, I will certainly be able to pay for 2 of them through cutting my own salary, and I want there to be an under 5s play club within walking distance of every person in the borough. So if you are a single parent, or a parent at home with your child, you may not be a single parent, you can just walk to one of these places with your toddlers, push them in a pushchair, and you can experience that form of community that does exist really well in something like an under 5s play club in the park. You meet other parents, the children learn to socialise, and many of my best friends in the area where I live are people that I got to meet during that period when my children were little. That's one of the very small aspects of the policy that I wanted to just mention there, what I would do with the pay cut. I'm not going to tell you about all my policies. It's in my election address there, it's on the website, but I want to give a chance for Ian to have a word. He couldn't come earlier, but Ian's the candidate for Lewisham Deptford, as you may well know, for the Socialist Alliance, who are affiliated with us, and I want there to be time for you to mingle and talk to the council candidates from People Before Profit after this meeting. Thank you.